Welcome back to the night shift, everybody. It's Monday, October 28th. It's 2:06 p.m. We're getting a little bit of a late start. Hopefully it's nighttime where you are. It's getting weird out there. So let's get weird in here. Had a little bit of a... it's weird. Are we in focus? There we go. Had a little bit of technical difficulties. I hope this clears up here in a second. We had a weak stream. We were suffering from a weak stream, and I'm sure many of you know how that can have your sky raining frogs. Welcome back to the night shift. It's members only Monday, and that's where we just hang out with the members. Everybody can hang out, but it's members only in the chat. And this is just our opportunity to kind of catch up on things that didn't make it into last week's show, stuff that we're looking forward to this week. Keep you guys up to speed. After all, members, you guys are the heart of Team Night Shift. You're the heartbeat of America, or wherever you are. It's important that you're here, and I appreciate every last one of you. We've had a lot of new members come on board in just the last few weeks. The channel's been growing a lot, too. We are just under 17,000 subscribers, I think. Let me just check my math here. According to my iPod, Abraham Lincoln isn't even watching the play. Triple bonus points if anybody can tell me where that's from. 16,862. That's almost 1,600 new subscribers in just the last 28 days. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Go team. Yay us. Everyone pat yourself on the back. I'm just going to tell you right at the top of this that I have weird internet right now. I don't know what's going on with the internet. I think it's something to do with lingering damage from the storm that seems to be causing it to come and go. The only reason I would say that is because Comcast keeps texting me that there's a problem and they're working on it. And then there's a problem, they're working on it, and the next day it seems to be fixed. And then 2 days later, there's still a problem. But they're proactively letting me know that there's a problem and they have not fixed it yet. So I'm proactively letting you know that it might be a little clunky today. Why is this thing so slow? So quick members shout out. Let's see, who's new? Who's new? JB, welcome aboard. Carrie Little, Jenny, welcome. The Foreboding, Cora Loftus. There's too many to name. I'm going to make a little opening title sequence for this that I'm going to have to drop everybody's name in the credits and do it that way because there's just so many of you. And I just want you to know, thank you for being a member. If you're supporting the channel by being a member, it's awesome that you're here. It means everything to me. It makes it possible for me to take the time out of my week away from my other job and everything else I have going on to sit down and talk about UFOs with you guys. And it takes the edge off because there's just a lot of weird little expenses that go along with running a channel like this. There's website fees, there's subscription fees, there's all the editing software and everything. It all costs money. And your memberships take the edge off. Let's see who's in the member or who's in our members only chat today. We've got Sage Sleuth, Ebony McKickass, Adam Wright. Adam, I'm still working my way through the carrot thing, and I'm going to get back to you, hopefully. Remind me if I don't on the language thing that you asked about. Rach Beal, you've been a member for a month. It's your month anniversary. Night Shift rocks. This is the only channel I pay to be a member because you guys are awesome. Thank you, Rachel. That's awesome. You are awesome. And yeah, it's a great little community. We got a cool family over here. JB, welcome to I Want to Believe. Thank you for being a member. You are the wind beneath my wings. And I can't put it any other way. Chris Hovord, Mod Squad, of course, welcome. Brett, I hope you're here. I hope you're feeling better. Brett just had a birthday. Happy birthday, Brett. Random Content, welcome aboard. Sage Sleuth, Perplexed, Rhizus Sardonicus, Random Content, Shadow Patriot Terry. What's up, Shadow Patriot Terry? How you doing? Steven Daedalus, Paris Diamonds, of course, and everybody else. If I haven't mentioned your name, welcome. Thank you for being here. We got a big group today. So I thought we would start the day with some announcements. We're going to be doing a new thing on Wednesdays. This is just kind of a test for it right now. So, this all may change, but the idea is to do a Wednesday audience focused deep dive on one particular topic or another. And the way that we're going to try to make this interesting is we're going to try to do some kind of a live call-in thing where you guys can actually call in and ask questions and talk about what you think about a particular topic, what's on your mind. This is something that we're working on right now. We're going to try to roll it out on Wednesday. If you're back here Wednesday, same time, 2:00 Eastern, then you can test it out with us and we'll see how it goes. It's probably going to be a little clunky at first. Hopefully it won't stay clunky for long. But if it works, it's going to be a lot of fun. And this will be a way for us to kind of just hang as a group and do some deep dives together on some of these weirder topics. Like one of the things that we wanted to talk about was Bluebeam. We want to do a deep dive on Bluebeam. What is it? Where does that come from? What's it all about? What can we make of it? Is it for real? Is it something we should be concerned about? Another one is going to be the promise and peril of AI. So we got a few different ones that we're going to get into. So that's Wednesdays. And then on Friday this week, I hope I can make this work. Hang on, everybody. I got to switch. This Friday is going to be a really fun episode because we're going to have. Let me get my links all sorted out. Executive producer and director of Project Gravatar, Luigi Vinditelli, is going to be back with us Friday, but he's not going to be alone. He's going to be joining us with Chris Ramsey, who you may know if you're one of his 7.17 million subscribers, who is launching his new venture, which is Area 52. This is his new channel where he's going to be focusing on ufology, UFO lore, UFO history, disclosure, all of it. He's going to be doing deep dives, and it's a fascinating channel. It's a badass logo. I love this logo. So we're going to have Chris and Luigi together, and we're going to be talking about Project Gravatar because Luigi directed it, created the project, and Chris had the opportunity to experience it. He did the VR experience, and we'll look at some clips. We'll look at some exclusive footage. We'll dig into it, what it is, when it's coming, what we can expect from it. And you guys can ask some questions. If you have questions for Luigi or Chris, you're welcome to participate. So it'll be a lot of fun. That's going to be Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern time here. So Square. All right. Where's our chat? Hang on. I just changed my whole desktop around. I understand that we've been having some trouble with international shipping on our website, so I tried to fix that, and I think I may have fixed it. I don't know exactly. Let's take a look and see if I can give you guys some good news here. If you go, here we go. Let me just get this housekeeping out of the way. Nope, not that one. Here we go. There we go. If you go to teamnightshift.com, and you go to merch, and you order any shirt, you should be able, I believe, you can, shipping is now activated for Canada, Mexico, Spain, Germany, France, Italy, and, oh, I just had this written down, but it's missing now. But if you're in any one of those places, try to order a shirt. Let me know if you have any problem. But yeah, Mexico, Canada, France, Germany, Spain, Italy should all be working. If it doesn't, let me know. Hit make contact, send me an email, tell me what's going on, and I'll see if I can find out where the problem is. But I think I'm fairly confident that I know what I'm doing, and I think I've got it all sorted out. By the way, today I'm wearing the night shift text logo muscle tee. I know I pushed the t-shirts a little bit, but it's because they're so awesome. They're really, really good. And I'm not just saying that. They're awesome. These are Bell and Canvas side seam construction. They're really nice, fitted, soft cotton, awesome shirts. And I'm wearing one. This is my new uniform. I wear this every day, pretty much. My family's starting to ask questions. But it's super soft. It's the perfect weight for a t-shirt. It looks great. You can layer it, throw a hoodie on there. You can throw a flannel over it if you do the flannel thing. It's really your call how you do it. But I'm a big fan. And so free shipping on all the shirts. That's the point. Also, this has nothing to do with the channel at all. This is literally just because I really like this. This is not a paid thing. No one's giving me any money for this. But if you guys haven't tried this soap, this is Kirk's Castile soap. Comes in a 3-pack. It's not the cheapest soap, but it's actually the best soap I've ever tried. The lather on this stuff is phenomenal. So I'm just throwing it out there. It's so good that I said it. I bought some and I put it on my desk and I said, I'm going to tell them about this soap because it's that good. That's all. No unnecessary ingredients. Great lather. Smells great. What else is there to say? What else do you want in a soap? Paris Diamond says, I'd ordered one and still waiting. What happened? You're still waiting. Is it not shipped yet? That's weird. Too many links, not enough fingers. Can the Xander tunes run in the chat in Discord? Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know if I can say anything about it yet, but apparently we're getting closer to the much anticipated full release. Xander's been hard at work in the studio. He's got some more tracks on the way. So, maybe I can throw one on here. Let's do this. Where's my background? Here we go. Okay. So today I want to talk to you about this alien intervention. There's been a lot of activity in the rumor mill. The internet is on fire with rumors of a possible huge event coming in the next 2-3 years, maybe. And a lot of this is coming from sources that are pretty reputable. Lou Elizondo has been dancing around this topic for a while. Danny Sheehan came out recently and made some very bold statements. Very specific, very bold statements about a possible alien intervention to prevent a thermonuclear holocaust. I don't know about you guys, but the World War III vibes are coming off hot and heavy off of the Middle East right now. Situation looks kind of grim. North Korea just sent 3,000 infantry, which is, see how that goes. But they're sending troops to fight in Ukraine. That's a weird thing to say. That's strange. Where's my article on that? Bear with me. There we go. Here we go. It's this one. North Korean troops deployed to Kursk, an escalating counteroffensive. This is from October 26th. This is 2 days ago. The U.S. has said North Korean troops may have been deployed to a key front in Russia's war against Ukraine, as speculation grows over how the international community may respond to a third party entering combat. The U.S. confirmed on October 23rd that Pyongyang was joining Russia's war against Ukraine, a claim made days earlier by Ukraine and South Korea. There remains uncertainty, however, over what role troops from the secretive state may play. Well, a lot of them are going to turn into pink mist. This is my guess. I mean, bullet catchers, what are they going to be? I feel awful for these guys. Whoever these North Korean soldiers are, they have never had a chance. They are walking into a meat grinder. John Kirby, a spokesman for the U.S. National Security Council, said Friday it is certainly possible, and I'd just go so far as to say perhaps even likely, that at least some of these North Korean troops could be deployed to the Kursk area. They're going to be looking for landmines. It's going to be really interesting to see what North Korean soldiers do in combat, because as far as I understand, we don't have any intelligence on that. And because they never do anything except those crazy naked snow fighting videos that Kim Jong-un is so fond of. It's really weird. So there's that. That's going on. Of course, the ongoing situation in the Middle East is starting to expand. Israel's attacking Iran now. I mean, I'm not a geopolitical expert by any stretch of the imagination, but it certainly feels like there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of escalation in violent conflict recently. And it feels like we're very over-nuclearized on this planet. And I think the last thing Kim Jong-un needs is a confidence boost from a perceived beneficial alliance with Russia. That's a weird one, right? Like, we're going to get to see these guys fight. And that's going to be interesting. But their weapons are shit. Their training is awful. These guys don't even get vitamins. They have no, I don't know. They all weigh like 45 pounds. It's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out. I don't know. It just feels very weird. And so, on top of that, there's been, there were a number of statements that were made recently, and I've got a few of them pulled up here. So let me see if I can just get to them. Here we go. All right, I have to kill this. Sorry.
And it's
okay, so this is some of you may have already seen this. We've shown the clip a couple of times. I'm going to show it again here. It's only about 3 minutes long, but the purpose of showing it again is just to sort of tee up the next clip that I'm going to show you, because he's doubled down on this statement and has put it on the official New Paradigm Institute YouTube page. It's kind of interesting. So let's take a quick look at this clip. This is where Danny Sheehan at Yale University explains what's going on with this idea of a possible alien intervention, and then he's going to expand on it in another clip.
It's going to be extraordinarily important for you to understand that there is an uprising that is going on right now on behalf of making this information public. And we want you to become part of this. We want to integrate this at the academic level. We want the students to rise up in the same way that the students rose up against the Vietnam War. We want the studentry to rise up. This is your future. This is your future that we're talking about here. You know, and it's outrageous for you to be sitting in major universities where they've brought you together ostensibly to teach you to how to cope with the world, and that you're not yet dealing with this profound issue. Okay, not only the issue of UFOs, but the issue of the potential thermonuclear war, and the issue of global climate change. You've got to come to grips with all three of these things, because your world is getting set to change right out from under you. Okay, and you don't know it yet. So that those of you who get out ahead of the power curve and start dealing with this right now are going to be the ones that are the go-to people when the roof starts falling in on this issue. And you're going to be the one that people say, oh, I know a friend who's been talking about this. I know a person who's been trying to get courses taught at the university about this. Okay, that you want to start reaching out to help our fellow human beings prepare for this, because this is going to have huge repercussions on the geopolitical structures of our planet, the economy of our planet, the religious institutions of our planet, the domestic political institutions that we have. We have to work together to be able to maintain as much agency, as much sovereignty as we can possibly legitimately maintain in the face of the revelation of the existence of this extraterrestrial civilization. You know, the fact of the matter is they seem to be preparing now to potentially intervene directly to stop the thermonuclear war and to stop the total devastation of our ecological systems on our planet. Okay, and that means that the intervention is going to reveal their presence. And that's what's motivating a significant number of people in the Pentagon right now to be coming forward, trying to establish a systematic process for a controlled disclosure about their presence. Because they believe that if in fact this is put off and the Defense Department continues to lie about this, then what's going to happen is when the intervention takes place on the part of the extraterrestrial civilization is going to be totally disruptive. That people are not prepared for it, that they haven't prepared to know how to respond to it economically, politically, geopolitically, religiously, and theologically.
Let me just move my logo. There we go. Okay, so that was the presentation that he made at Yale University a couple of weeks ago. This is about 2.5 weeks ago now, and at that time, it was Jim Garrison spoke and gave kind of a overview of the current nuclear threat as it stands today, and he painted a pretty depressing picture of the environmental situation, and these two events together necessitating some form of a intervention on behalf of the planet from these NHI. So that was the first time that this really became real on my radar. This has been discussed for a long time. I've often had fun with the idea of an event, some type of super dramatic event that could happen that would sort of upend civilization and change things once and for all. I mean, as you can see here, we've gone to red alert. This is super serious. I had to change the bulb. So that was not done lightly. We only go to red alert. That's my on-air sign. We only go to red alert if it really seems serious. So I've had fun with that idea. I think it's compelling. I think that it's exciting. I think that for the most part, the notion that some global event could happen that would sort of unite all of us and give us that sense of one humanity would be really thrilling to experience, provided that it didn't immediately end with us being wiped out by some kind of alien superweapon. But if we could have a this revelation of alien NHI contact and do it in a way that was constructive, we might be able to all sort of take a big step back from the hamster wheel that we're all on, kind of like what happened in the very early beginning phase of COVID when they sort of shut everything down and people were like, whoa, this is weird. It would be something even larger than that, even more huge than that. But it's always been a very loose rumor. You know, this is something that's been kicked around in ufology for a long time by various people, but it's always sort of just off in the, somewhere in the future it's going to happen, but it dates come and go and it changes a lot. What's different now is the fact that it's the New Paradigm Institute and Danny Sheehan specifically making these statements. Why it's significant that Danny Sheehan is doing it is because he has a history with this topic that goes back a number of decades. He's represented in a legal sense the some of the top minds in the field, from John Mack to Lou Elizondo to the Disclosure Project to David Grush and all these guys. And he's been intimately involved in this topic. So more than most, he is in a position to have a 30,000-foot picture, if you will, of what exactly is going on. He's got bits and pieces of the puzzle from various different people over a span of time that, when stitched together, I imagine gives him a much clearer picture of what's going on than most people might have. So to hear him say what he's been saying gives me pause, and I think it's very compelling. I'm not saying that it's a done deal because he said it, that makes it automatically true. I still want to find out more about where this information comes from, and there's much to learn here before we conclude anything concretely. But it is interesting to watch this conversation take flight and to see the rumor mill start to churn up and to watch the internet react. I'm curious, where are you guys at, people at home, members? What do you think about this statement? Does this rattle you? Does this seem interesting? Does this seem like more of the same? What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know. We'll come back to that in a little bit. So that was the first clip. Now I'm going to show you the second clip. Hang on a second. I have to find it. While we're looking for this clip, can somebody tell me what's going on with the Baby Shark expanded universe? Does anybody have a toddler out there and understand what the deal is with Pink Fong? I feel like Pink Fong, this is only for the other parents. If you've got a toddler, you know what I'm talking about. But Pink Fong and Baby Shark, it feels like some kind of MK Ultra mind control experiment, because I put that stuff on and my kid zones out. It's like I just disappear and he's just laser locked on the TV and he'll stare at it for like 15, 20, 30 minutes at a go without, it's almost like he doesn't blink. It's really weird. Just curious if anybody else. Okay. So there we go. The Julian Dory podcast. Danny was interviewed by Julian on his excellent channel, and they went into depth into a lot of this stuff. But there's one particular clip that is about 2 minutes and 45 seconds long, and it's Danny on the Julian Dory podcast talking about this same topic: catastrophic, disclosure, contact, etc. So let's look at how he expands on this, and then we're going to look at some articles that just came out, and we'll dig into those. Here we go.
The elite that have risen into power in both hemispheres are threatening thermonuclear destruction of the planet.
Yeah.
Okay, they're engaging in the maintenance of control over the petroleum industry, and polluting the planet and polluting the oceans, and threatening the life generating capacity of our planet. Okay, they are on the very brink of actually instigating a potential intervention on the part of an extraterrestrial civilization in order to preserve the life generating capacity of our planet. That's what's happening right now, and that's what's panicking them. So all of a sudden they've come forward saying, wait a second, that we think that we're on the brink of some potential intervention here. And if they intervene in an aggressive enough way to shut off our nuclear weapons capacities in both East and West, that's going to reveal their presence. And we aren't ready yet. We haven't really taken the steps that are necessary to prepare our people for the intervention of an extraterrestrial civilization like this. And so you see this thing happening right now, kind of this mysterious process going on of some element inside the national security state coming forward, with the either pretense
Yes.
or at least posture of being good guys all of a sudden.
That's right.
Of that they've seen the light. And that they think, I'm really feeling bad about, how secretive we've been.
Let's
and
tell
the,
everyone.
the excesses, and so, but let's make it clear. We're not here talking about revealing everything. We're talking about revealing some things. And there's some other things that we just really can't reveal, but we can't tell you what those are. Under any circumstance, we can't tell you what they are. But one of the things that they'll lead right with is, of course, whatever the changes are that are going to be flowing from disclosure, we can't have them alter the elements of power on the planet right now. That's number one. Okay, that would be, in their view, catastrophic.
Yes.
Primarily because they view themselves as being assigned responsibility for keeping
Right.
those people in power.
Right.
That's how they view their military covert mission. Okay,
They want to sustain what they have.
that's
Yeah.
right. And so there are other things that that one's an obvious one, right?
Of course.
Then they have others like that. Well, there may be some things that have been done on behalf of maintaining the secrets down through the decades. They may have engaged in untoward activity toward private citizens.
They would never do that, Danny.
And that would be catastrophic to reveal some of that, because if you revealed that, then the confidence of the people in that elite would be diminished.
So that fleshes things out a little bit. Well, hold on a second. Okay. Autoplay. I'm a victim of autoplay. That fleshes things out a little bit. The sudden appearance of a intelligent, non-human civilization interrupting a nuclear conflict would reveal their presence, and that would be catastrophic for people. But who are the people that it would be catastrophic for? Is it catastrophic for all of us, or is it catastrophic for some people? I think that's really that's an important point to drill down on. Let's look at the chat and see what's going on here. Josh, I have your email. I'm going to write you back. Just bear with me. I do have it. I was going to respond this morning. Didn't have time, but had to roll into the show. And then I am going to respond to it. Let's see. Oh, bearded UFO guy, Gaz, welcome. Kindness Sullivan, welcome. Yeah, we need to have things ready. Kindness Sullivan, well, a couple of years is not long. We need to have things ready, such as the economy. Rhizus Sardonicus, it's concerning because of who it's coming from. I'm not optimistic like Danny seems to be regarding claiming some semblance of agency or autonomy. If they are intervening, it's not good for human beings. That's an interesting question, though. I mean, if they stop a Holocaust and save billions of lives, that's a good thing. But if it comes at the cost of our agency and autonomy, that's a bad thing. And it's interesting choice of words that he uses there. We have to act to maintain some semblance of autonomy and agency. I mean, it sounds like that's not a guarantee at all, at least in his view, based on what he knows. That doesn't just come automatically. We're going to have to really be forceful about how we preserve those things. Oh, Johnny J, welcome aboard, new member. Brett, based on your military expertise, what do you think about the North Korean situation? Do you think North Korea is going to be have anything to add to the Ukraine conflict other than a bunch of unfortunate casualties? Just curious. Leslie Keene, Ebony McKickass. Leslie Keene said on Theories of Everything that a lot of the things we are accustomed to in our daily lives, conveniences, are going to change with whatever this thing is that's coming. So that's it, right? Like you have Leslie Keene making that statement. We've shown that clip here before. You can go to Theories of Everything. You can find it. If you go to the Theories of Everything podcast, look up the Leslie Keene interview. Watch. It was in the last 20% of that interview. It's like the last 15, 20 minutes, somewhere towards the end. He asks her, like, and in a very kind way, and just sort of just trying, you can tell he's kind of like putting a wrap on the end of the show and sort of winding down the conversation. And he goes, "Hey, so what are you looking forward to? What's coming up for you?" It's sort of just a light, gentle question. And then she kind of takes this weird turn off into I'm not optimistic about the near future based on some of the conversations I've had and some of the people that I've talked to. And then Kurt says, "Well, what do you mean by that? Do you mean something's going to happen?" And she just kind of she doesn't really answer, but she answers in a weird way. She kind of just dances around it in the same way that Lou dances around it, in the same way that a lot of these people seem to come right up to the line and then they sort of back down and don't say anything. Um, there's a great clip. I may even have it here. I always say this, but I don't know if I do. There's a great clip of Robert Bigelow on Jeffrey Mishlov's New Thinking Aloud podcast talking about the same thing. He says that he had a team of, he doesn't say he had a team of remote viewers, but it's kind of a known secret, I guess. It's not, I mean, it's not really a secret, but he works with remote viewers who saw, they gathered some information on the near future and on the, how does he phrase it? He says the disposition of humanity in the near future. He has a very weird phrasing of it, but he's basically saying they're not optimistic about the situation in the near future. And then he kind of backs down from it. And it just, there's a lot of this. So the recent story that's been kind of on floating around, and we're going to have to talk about these newspapers for a second because I have to pull them up first. Let's see. James Williams says North Korea brings a rogue nuclear state into the mix. I'm sure that's got to be a huge headache for the Pentagon. That's true, but it's an intelligence bonanza. I mean, we get to see these North Korean troops in action. We get to see how useful they actually are. They're going to get exposed to all kinds of things that they're not used to seeing, probably. And if any of them do make it home, which is a big if, I wonder what they're going to think about their time outside of the North Korean mind prison. Brett Higgins says China won't get involved, nor will Russia. Everyone sees North Korea as that overcompensating short man in the pub. No one will have their back. I'm just wondering about the confidence boost that Kim Jong-un gets from this, and if he decides to get a little sassy with a nuclear warhead, that could set off a chain reaction that people aren't ready for. Let's see, Stephen Daedalus. I remember Reagan's speeches where he mentioned that maybe we would need an alien threat from another world so that humans stop wars and unite, but I think this is optimistic. Yeah, that's interesting that Reagan would say that, isn't it? Think about it logically. This is Josh Wheat. Plasma is self-forming when you understand the physics, which is much easier than they make it seem. You realize everything is emergent from an underlying field. I think so. So this new article, this just dropped. Let me pull this up here. Okay, my UK people, this is from the Mirror. Is the Mirror a legitimate newspaper? Is it legit? Can we trust anything that comes from the Mirror? I know that there's been a historically weird tabloids tend to occasionally print some accurate information that I guess is made to kind of be leaked in between a bunch of other goofy information or underneath the goofy headline. And so I don't think that all tabloids are useless, but I wonder sometimes what, if there's any good reporting that comes out of this particular paper. So is the Mirror legit? Because this is where this article comes from, but I think it's worth talking about because it does refer to something that's been going on in our field. The Mirror is trash, Brian Park. No, not anymore. The Mirror is pure tabloid. The Mirror leans left, the Sun leans right. Okay, well, this is the headline in the Mirror. Huge alien announcement imminent as professor reveals breaking news. So they're talking about, there's a few things wrong with this headline. They're talking about Holloman, Simon, and a British academic with a track record of producing documentaries for NASA-funded projects is causing shockwaves with what could be the most monumental news in history. Professor Simon Holland claims that there's a frenetic competition between two groups of astronomers to announce verified proof of an alien civilization. I understand professor is not actually how he prefers to be called, so the fact that they use this it shows me they didn't talk to him because that's not really he doesn't that's not his thing. Speaking exclusively to the Mirror, he said, maybe they did talk to him. They didn't get that part right. We have found a non-human extraterrestrial intelligence in our galaxy and people don't know about it. Simon claimed to have been tipped off by an insider in Mark Zuckerberg's Breakthrough Listen project, which seeks out cosmic company beyond Earth. He speculated that this earth-shattering revelation could even align with the U.S. election timeline, stirring up the anticipation even more. So this is the story that Pavel's been following pretty closely on his channel. He knows more about it than I do, but what's interesting is that this article came out, and then right after it, this is fears imminent alien announcement could contain truth too terrible to be told. Nick Pope, who once ran the UK government's UFO project, has warned that any message from extraterrestrials should be carefully analyzed before being released to the public. So this is a really interesting article because they kind of take something that Nick Pope says in very straightforward terms, and he's not being sensationalist when he says what he says, but they make it seem that way. And so we'll just go through this really quickly, and then we're going somewhere with this, so stick with me. Ever since an explosive report in 2017 peeled back the curtain on the U.S. government's secret UFO research program, talk of alien visitors has steadily transitioned from fringe conspiracy theories to mainstream discussion. Recent developments have only fueled the fire. Military experts have sworn before Congress that the Pentagon ran a multi-decade initiative aimed at retrieving and deconstructing extraterrestrial wreckage. Despite mounting evidence and talk of a non-human technical signature captured by an Australian space telescope, we remain no closer to an official government acknowledgement of alien encounters. Nick Pope, who used to handle UFO sightings for the UK's Ministry of Defense, has a chilling hypothesis about this continuous secrecy. In a private communication with Simon Holland, revealed through a Reddit leak, which we'll look at in a second, and verified by the Mirror, Pope aired his disturbing thoughts. Simon recently hit headlines around the world by alleging that an Oxford-affiliated satellite project has uncovered proof of extraterrestrial life, a discovery he hinted could align with the U.S. election on November 5th. That seems a little unlikely to me. It does seem, though, that after every election cycle completes itself, there's some kind of crazy news event that happens in the first quarter of the next year, something just off the wall. happens that catches everybody by surprise. However, in the leaked email, Nick Pope advised extreme caution with any message intercepted by the alien study team, warning that it should be deeply scrutinized before it reaches the public because in case it contains a truth too terrible to be told. Nick offered his thoughts on why the much anticipated disclosure about extraterrestrial life had been delayed, stating, "I don't believe that the U.S. presidential election or ongoing conflicts in the Middle East or Ukraine have a bearing on the timescale. One factor that might have a bearing on timing relates to a scenario where the assessment is that we're not looking at just a signal, but a message." So the actual email, this is the Reddit link that they're talking about, and this is the email. "Simon, here are some thoughts which you're free to quote in whole or in part. If a radio signal has been found, the scientific protocol would be to verify it and then publish the data. While not legally binding, the SETI Institute's Declaration of Principles concerning the conduct of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence is the document that most people engaged in this type of research would look to. I don't believe that the U.S. presidential election or the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East or Ukraine have a bearing on the timescale. One factor that might have a bearing on timing relates to a scenario where the assessment is that we're looking at not just a signal, but a message or a vast amount of information. An Encyclopedia Galactica, for example, with an exclamation point. In this scenario, it would be prudent to have a go at decoding the message before making an announcement, in case it contains a truth too terrible to be told. It's just speculation, of course, but suppose there's information that states life on Earth was created by an extraterrestrial civilization as a science experiment, and that the experiment has been deemed a failure and is about to be terminated. One can imagine other scenarios too, where a degree of caution might be called for before dumping all the data into the public domain." This is the SETI Institute's protocols for an ETI signal detection, if anyone's interested. I think it's pretty clear, though, if you read that email, that Nick Pope isn't saying that there's going to be some truth too terrible to be disclosed. He's just saying that's a hypothetical. So they kind of... Can you imagine a tabloid sensationalizing that? Oh my God. It's pretty interesting that they have a 8-point response protocol. SETI experiments will be conducted transparently, and its practitioners will be free to present reports on activities and results in public and professional fora. They will also be responsive to news organizations and other public communications media about their work. That's important. Handling candidate evidence. In the event of a suspected detection of extraterrestrial intelligence, the discoverer will make all efforts to verify the detection using the resources available to the discoverer and with the collaboration of other investigators, whether or not signatories to this declaration. Such efforts will include, but not be limited to, observations at more than one facility and or by more than one organization. There is no obligation to disclose verification efforts while they are underway, which may be where we're at right now, and there should be no premature disclosures pending verification, which makes sense. That's kind of where we're at right now. We think, based on these rumors, right? Inquiries from the media and news organizations should be responded to promptly and honestly. Information about candidate signals or other detections should be treated in the same way that any scientist would treat provisional laboratory results. The Rio scale, or its equivalent, should be used as a guide to the import and significance of candidates' discoveries for the benefit of non-specialist audiences. Confirmed detections. Step 3. If the verification process confirms, by the consensus of the other investigators involved, and to a degree of certainty judged by the discoverers to be credible, that a signal or other evidence is due to extraterrestrial intelligence, the discoverer shall report this conclusion in a full and complete open manner to the public, the scientific community, and the Secretary General of the United Nations. This The confirmation report will include the basic data, the process and results of the verification efforts, and any conclusions and interpretations and any detected information content of the signal itself. A formal report will also be made to the International Astronomical Union. All data necessary for the confirmation of the detection should be made available to the international scientific community through publications, meetings, conferences, and other appropriate means. This could actually be the roadmap for what's going to happen in the next 24, 36 months. Number 5, discovery should be monitored. Any data bearing on the evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence should be recorded and stored permanently to the greatest extent feasible and practicable in a form that will make it available to observers and to the scientific community for further analysis and interpretation. If the evidence of detection is in the form of electromagnetic signals, observers should seek international agreement to protect the appropriate frequencies by exercising the extraordinary procedures established within the World Administrative Radio Council on the International Telecommunications Union. A post-detection task group under the auspices of the IAA SETI Permanent Study Group has been established to assist in matters that may arise in the event of a confirmed signal, to support the scientific and public analysis by offering guidance, interpretation, and discussion of the wider implications of the detection. In the case of the confirmed detection of a signal, signatories of this declaration will not respond without first seeking guidance and the consent of a broadly representative international body such as the United Nations. That's pretty straightforward. I don't know. What do you guys think? That seems pretty basic. Linda Collins, thank you. Let's check the chat. Rachel Beal says, do you think the message is put the kettle on? We are en route. Screen freeze. How's my stream quality? I hope it's good. Reese Holbrook, thank you. It's going great. We're living the dream. JB asks, is there a call-in line? There's not a call-in line yet, but we're going to have a solution for call-ins by Wednesday, I think. I think it's going to be a link. Like you'll be able to join the broadcast. So you'll join the live stream. You'll just jump in. You can ask your question and then you bounce out and then we'll respond and we'll get the guest to answer. And that's kind of the idea. So we'll do the dry run on Wednesday. Stream's good. All right. Thanks, JB. Risus Sardonicus. You the man, Clint. No, you're the man. You're the man now, dog. Okay, great. So, Rach, thank you. You're the best. Be the best version of ourselves and don't hate, even if people are bad, because karma will get them 100%. Truer words were never spoken. Thanks, Rach. That's so true. So I want to take this opportunity to just pause and say that we're having a very thrilling conversation about a very exciting topic. All of us are super pumped and psyched about what could happen in the next few years. But it's important to try and put this into perspective and remember that we are always kind of you can never be truly sure of how much disinformation or misinformation is floating around in the information sphere at any given time. So although we may see a bunch of things and we're reacting to them and we're getting excited about what we're seeing, it's important that we just take a step back and realize that any of this could be intentionally misleading for a number of different reasons. So it's not necessarily, I don't want to act as if this is 100% sure thing that we know some alien intervention is going to happen. But I think it's interesting when you look at the people who are saying it and exactly what they're saying, and you look at the timing, it feels very much like there is a coordinated effort underway to let the pressure off, let some steam off, and get some of this information out so that when whatever they're saying might happen happens, if it happens, uh, people don't go completely, what's the right term? Ape shit. I think ape shit's the right word. And as we saw with COVID, people can lose their minds pretty quickly. And it doesn't take long. I'm not even necessarily so much worried about what the NHI do right away. I'm worried about the shitty humans that are going to try to spin that situation, whatever it may be, into whatever they think is going to help them either make money or be more successful or do whatever. Like they're just going to find ways to spin it. And it's going to be interesting to see how religious leaders handle it, particularly the more, I don't know, culty, like mega church people. What are they going to do? How are other governments going to handle it? How are they going to let their people understand what's going on? I mean, what happens uh, in that interview on Julian Dory's podcast? Danny goes on to talk about if they were to launch a, let's say some military situation spirals out of control and somebody launches a nuclear weapon in anger. If you read any of Annie Jacobson's work, she goes into detail about what happens next. And it's a chain of events that is largely automated, but there are many things that'll start to happen really quickly. And it could spiral out of control in no time, like a matter of minutes. We could be in a full scale global thermonuclear war. So if that situation were to happen, that lines up with some of the stuff that Bob Bigelow talked about, the way that he phrased it. I think that's a fair way to say it. And Danny in the Julian Dory podcast says that if the NHI intervene at that moment, that's the thing that's going to reveal their presence, because none of these nuclear weapons are going to go off. They're just going to go thunk, 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 and just land, and that'll be that. Or they'll go down in the ocean or something, and then that's going to be the big aha moment, like, oh, the adults have entered the room and they've taken the matches away. And I think that the thing that what they are likely frightened of is that in that moment, this is just my hypothesis. Just based on my own observations of human behavior. I'm curious what you guys think. But I think what they're worried about is if something comes along and just switches off all the nuclear weapons, then in that moment, we're all going to realize that no one here is in charge. It's like when you realize that, you just look around and you go, well, oh, we thought our parents were in charge, but there's some other adults that have shown up and they're actually demonstrating more power. So what happens to our global institutions of governance? What happens to our orderly society that we're used to? Does it just break down because people decide that they're not going to work anymore? They're not going to do what the TV says or what the news says. They're just going to go crazy because why not? It's that big of an event. So I'm curious about that. Like if that was the moment, something that dramatic happened. And this is a great time to mention on Wednesday, we're going to do a deep dive discussion on what would happen in the first 24, 48, 72 hours, the first 7 days after the event, the disclosure, the catastrophic disclosure. Imagine that scenario or some scenario like that, where it becomes obvious and they're here and it's just clear as a bell and no one can deny it. It's the only story on the news. It's the only thing on TV. It's the only thing anyone's talking about. Gigantic ships appearing above every city in the world. Think big. Think like huge. Think something so big it would just stop the whole world in its tracks for days while we just absorb it. That's what we're going to do a deep dive on Wednesday. What happens in the hours, the minutes, hours, days, and weeks following that moment? And how would you react? What would you do? What would you want others to do? What should we do? What should the government do? You know, should they do anything? Should, in that moment, should we immediately think about disarming and declaring some kind of world ceasefire, global ceasefire, where we just chill and try to like form some kind of new consensus on what we want to do? I'm curious. So Wednesday, be here for that deep dive into the days after disclosure or the days after contact. Sage Sleuth says, I think they know they are not in charge, so now they need higher weapons. The game keeps playing. So the game keeps playing. And it will last at least 6 months. This is something that has to deal with the alien war. Okay, so this gets weirder. Rice's Sardonica says, Hal Puthoff talks about the hypothetical chain of events. Long story short, for too many segments of society in chaos to fix at the same time. That's an interesting point. Yeah, are you talking about the Hal Puthoff? He says that he participated in a presidential like study group. They had a group of academics or a group of people, and he was part of this, and it was a lot of people. It was dozens and dozens of people, and I believe it was like an exercise where they basically had people break off into teams, and then go through sort of what would the consequences be on the stock market, on the banking sector, on insurance, on all this stuff. And then, if I remember correctly, that's the one that Hal Puthoff was talking about. And he and his team, despite the fact that they were in favor of disclosure initially, were not in favor of it by the time they completed this exercise because they realized it would just be too disruptive. Sage Sleuth says, depends on if I believe it's real or a military-inspired event. Yeah. What would it have to be? How bad would the damage have to be for it to be not worth revealing the truth, right? Like, what would the repercussions of revealing it to the public, whatever this is? Like Jim Semivan calls it the indigestible truth of the UAP phenomenon. Indigestible. You can't handle it. People just aren't ready for this. We keep hearing that. And then Hal Puthoff suggests that it would just be too catastrophic for society. We've heard that for years and years. I mean, but what does that even mean? Like, what could be more catastrophic than where we're already at? We're like, if you look at the way our whole system works, I mean, I'm occasionally guilty of getting a little fired up about environmental issues on this channel, but I mean, it's not looking good. It doesn't look great. Like the next 50 years, if they're anything like the last 25 years, the climate catastrophes are going to continue to come on strong. They're going to get worse. That's going to continue to just become a bigger and bigger problem as the decades roll on by. And, that's not going to make the nuclear situation any more safe. Certainly not going to make social cohesion any easier. It's not going to make us more friendly across the world. The mass migration events are going to be problematic. There's going to be increased conflict. There's going to be all kinds of stuff going on. So, maybe the thing to do is break a couple of eggs now and get it out. Let's just put the truth out there. At least then you're in control of the story, right? That's kind of my thought. If you're MJ12 or you're a member of MJ12 or whatever organization is in charge of the cover up today, and you internally are discussing like what you should do, I don't know. If I was in that conversation, I would say sooner or later, it's going to happen. People are going to find out. Sometimes you got to just rip off the Band-Aid. What's the worst that could happen? A few billionaires don't have any more yachts or something? Like, I don't really know. Could it be worse than any of the other things that we're already doing? I just can't imagine a scenario that would be that bad. Now, this gets more interesting. We'll go on to a few other things. Where is it? Here, let's see. Chris Bledsoe talked about his prediction event. And let me see if I can pull this up for you. It's on our Team Night Shift Reddit page. Oh, before I go there, so I'll set this up. This is another clip from that same podcast. This is Danny Sheehan on Julian Dory. Then we'll go to Chris Bledsoe, and then we're going to go to another one that's worth your time here. So give me just 1 second. All right, here we go.
Their carrier group down off activities going on now. Lots more. They deployed an entire carrier group.
Whoa.
Down off
a carrier group?
Yeah, the Nimitz carrier group. They deployed it down off the Baja to monitor the site down there. There's an underwater base for sure, right off Guadalupe Island, down underneath the sea.
Can we Google Guadalupe Island so we can see that?
Yeah, there's a specific spot.
You said this has to do with the church?
No, what I'm saying is that there are things happening now. There's such rapid developments that are going on now that they now know that there is this location right off Guadalupe Island, between there and Baja.
That island right there on the screen.
Which one is Guadalupe?
Well, I see we just lost the screen.
Is Guadalupe Island? Yeah, down
Baja. That's where Pavel is.
One of those. Baja. Which one is Guadalupe?
The little thing right there. Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, that would be it.
Got it.
Okay, so is that Guadalupe Island? Yeah, that's the one.
Like
right off that island, right there, beneath the sea. They deployed the entire the Nimitz carrier.
That's David
group.
Fravers.
Yep.
Right.
And they monitored over 100 sightings of UFOs coming and going down into the ocean right there and going down to the bottom of the ocean. And they were monitored by the submarines. That's right, monitored by the submarines underneath the water, coming and going, so that there's virtually certainly a base there. And that there's another base outside of Sedona, Arizona, over by there's a place called the Secret Mountain Wilderness over there. That's just totally desolate area. There's a base there where where the craft are, and so that there's a number of them high in the mountains and remote areas of the planet, and that they're here now, and that they're extraordinarily distressed. You can tell about the state of affairs right now
of humanity.
On. Yes.
Do you think that some of them possibly could be something else? And to be specific on that, I'm not saying all of them, but that some of them could be some form of advanced 40 to 60 years ahead DARPA weaponry or something like that we aren't aware of, meaning like this one outside Guadalupe, if they're going into the water right there, so close to this island where we have carrier ships and stuff like that, on something like that, more than like, say, a Sedona, Arizona example, I more think something like this at Guadalupe could involve weaponry as opposed to actual alien UFOs, if you will. You think that's possible?
No, you should phrase it that way. Is it conceivable? There's a lot of things that are conceivable. But that's not how you really conduct an investigation. What you do is you work from probability projections, and you work out from that that it's quite clear to me that facility off Guadalupe is in fact a base, an extraterrestrial base. Because the way that the carrier group has been acting, that they dig in and monitor that thing and monitor it under the water and keep track of it and keep records of what's going on, that would not be being done with one of our own weapon systems. But the one in Sedona, on the other hand, there's U.S. military personnel all around that place, and there's helicopters. They're Apache helicopters and others that are disposed, and they accompany the coming and going of these big triangles that fly in and out of there. And that they're witnesses that we've interviewed that say that there are tall whites or tall grays there, along with what they call the mantis people.
Mantis people.
The mantis people are huge, 7 feet tall, extraordinarily skinny, thin, kind of bowed over people. They remind people of praying mantises. This particular species,
like Sean Bradley.
No, not.
Mantis. Rices Sardonicus says, Clint, on my deployment in 2009 with our battle carrier group, 31st Marine Expeditionary Group, our Marines saw a no-shit UFO aircraft in the middle of the ocean monitoring us. Wild shit. Adam Wright, if my memory serves me, one of the best pieces of UAP footage in the 1974 doc UFOs Past, Present, and Future is from Guadalupe Island. Yeah, this thing with the praying mantis, that's a weird one. If it were anybody else talking about it, it would be much harder to believe. But because it's Danny Sheehan, again, like it's because it's him. That's what's so weird about it. It's just because he's not the type of person who's just going to spin ridiculous yarns. Like that's not who he is. And his professional history is such that it just wouldn't make any sense. He's I'm assuming he's speaking from a place of legitimate information, like legitimate information that there are praying mantis beings and tall grays in a base outside of Sedona, Arizona. And that's the second of at least two bases that he talked about: Guadalupe Island, Sedona, Arizona. Apache gunships escorting what appear to be, or at least what it sounds like, he's saying triangle craft. So is that the TR-3B coming and going out of Sedona, Arizona? Can you imagine? Can you imagine being in Sedona, Arizona? You're on a retreat. You're doing peyote out in the desert. You see a gigantic triangle flying over your campsite. Good Lord. Shadow Patriot Terry says, we were always being monitored by UFOs at my station, especially when we started messing with our nuclear ammo. Trevor Ironwolf says, I can never decide what to think about Danny. He puts the in incredible. That's true. KT says, lore has it they are highly evolved and benevolent. Praying mantis. You know what's interesting about the praying mantis thing is that if you read like Bud Hopkins, John Mack, they talk about people in hypnotic regression coming into contact with these mantis beings, but sort of the way that they tell the story seems to always be kind of matter of fact. Like they saw this mantis being, and then they just like went on to do other, or to focus on something else, and it wasn't like, it didn't make an enormous impact. I imagine if you saw for real a legitimate 7-8 foot tall praying mantis looking being, like really truly physically standing in the room with you, I can speak for myself. I would have a nervous breakdown, I think. I think if I'm honest, I think most honest people, if it's one thing to imagine what you think might happen, right? Like everybody thinks they would be a badass until they get punched, and then it's like you find out how flimsy that idea is. But like, what happens if you're just like, imagine you're out camping, you're out like walking around out near Sedona, someplace, you're out hiking, you're on a long hike, you get separated from your group, you go off one way to look at some interesting rocks, you find yourself kind of off in a clearing someplace, and suddenly out of nowhere, just from behind a rock, an 8 foot tall praying mantis being emerges. I mean, dude, it would be very cool to think I could be calm, cool, and collected, and sort of meditate myself into a good psychological state to handle a situation like that and do it all in an instant. But I just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. How would they reveal that to the public? Well, how does that get revealed? You know, how do they say? You hear it from Danny, and it sounds like, oh my God, it's just almost impossible to believe. But imagine that they really did want to put that out there, and they showed a video, or they wanted to start circulating real media of these things. I just there was a really cool story that Linda Moulton Howe tells, and I wish I could find it. I mean, I wish I could just pull it up for you right now. It just popped in there, but she talks about an interview she had with a whistleblower who had come forward to her. And this is a gentleman who said that he had been involved in communicating with some of these beings, that they occasionally would bring certain people in and they would sit in on I guess, an interrogation session or some kind of a interview, whatever you want to call it. And the way Linda tells it is she says that the person telling her this story was talking to his commanding officer, and the CO was telling him what to expect. And he said, you're going to walk into the room and you're going to stand there, and the being will be there about 12 feet away. And you're going to stand there, and then it's going to take a step forward, and you're going to take a step forward, and it's going to take a step forward, and you're going to take a step forward until you get to the middle of the room. And she kind of goes through this very, very specific set of instructions. Like, this is how you approach the being. This is what's going to happen. But then she goes on to say, and this is again her telling the story of someone who she was interviewing that had come forward to her. It was a whistleblower that was speaking to her. And if you can find this video, it's well worth your time because it's so compelling. But she says that the guy she's talking to, his commanding officer, told him, "You're going to freak out. Everything in your body is going to tell you to leave that room, to drop everything, and to run as fast as you can, as far as you can. Every nerve in your body is going to be screaming at you to get out of that room. But I don't want you to move. I want you to stand there and take it." And that's a really weird statement, but she says it that way. Like, she kind of quotes him on that. She goes, "I want you to stand there and take it." And I think to myself, that's got to be a process that these people have to go through. I mean, imagine the stress of just encountering something that is so different and seeing it face to face. I don't know. I don't know. It would just be like tremendously overwhelming. It makes me wonder sometimes when they say the indigestible truth about UFOs or UAPs. There's a lot of things in life. I think we all, if you've had a certain amount of experience in your life, and you've been around a little bit, it doesn't take long. Once you get out of adolescence and you make your way into adulthood, sooner or later, you start to have experiences and realize that sometimes there's things in life that you thought you wanted to know, and then you learn them and you don't actually want to know them. It's like there's no going back. Once you learn something that really shakes you up, there's no unknowing it. And I think it seems like a lot of people in the know dance around that. They're like, if you really knew, you wouldn't want to know. And that's just really hard for me to accept, but I understand that that's a thing. I don't know. Have you guys heard anything like that? What do you think? Reese Holbrook says there's obviously something to this, Clint. I think most are just guessing, or maybe none of us know. Royce Sardonicus, I want video. Stephanie Erickson, I've always had a problem with the cattle mutilations. Why? Mallory M says you probably wouldn't need to prepare to be encountered. The mantids would probably be about to put you at ease. Yeah, that's an interesting point as well. Paris Diamond, the 5 species they mentioned that are here. And that's another thing, too. In the Yale's presentation, he goes through the 5 species. He talks about them. Didn't Robert Dean, Reese Holbrook says, didn't Robert Dean say they were 50 odd? I don't know. Graham Hancock spoke out about UAPs and DMT. Brian Jackson, hey, Brian, says Dan Burrish felt the same way. That's the thing, right? Yes. Thank you, Brian. Dan Burrish. Man, if you guys haven't seen the Dan Burrish interview that I did a reaction video 2 months ago, and then I had Brian on, who's been researching Dan's story for years. Go watch that. You don't have to watch the one with me in it. You can, if you go to the show notes on that episode, you can go down and see the full Dan Burrish interview without me, and just go there and watch that full thing. But please go watch Dan Burrish's interview. That dude's story is so compelling. It's very hard to ignore. And when you see him on camera describing his encounter with J-Rod, it gives you chills. If it doesn't give you chills, then I don't know. I don't understand how it can't. I watch it every time and I'm like, this guy, he's for real. You look at somebody with, and then you're human. If you've got a good bullshit radar and you can just like look at a person and look, I know everybody can be deceived and it happens all the time. And certainly it's happened to me a number of times in my life. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but there comes a time sometimes when you can just look at a person and you have to just make a decision internally. Do I trust this person based on what I'm seeing? And with Dan Burrish, when he tells his story, I do. That's the decision I come to. I'm like, I trust this guy. Maybe he is full of shit. I don't know. I would love to interview him. If you, Dan, if you're out there and you want to share your story and talk, reach out to me and let's hook that up. There's never been a better time than right now. Dan Burrish, Rices Sardonicus, Dan Burrish thought it was a giant insect. He did. He didn't know what to think. And you can see that in his face and his body language. When he talks about it, he's like, he says, I was afraid inside. I felt fear. I felt excitement. I felt complete astonishment. That's the part that makes me take pause and realize, like, and think to myself, like, this person is being honest with me right now because they're admitting that they're not bulletproof. They're not, they're owning up to some human qualities that I think we all share. The fear and astonishment that would come with a moment like that. He leads with that. And I don't know. I believe him. Brett Higgins just linked to these videos in the chat. Thanks, Brett. If you guys want to watch them, the 2 YouTube links are in there. Check them out. Okay, so Stephen Daedalus says, I remember one interview with Ridley Scott at the time of Alien Covenant that said, was kind of strange. He said, according to NASA and scientists, there were at least 80 or 90 species. And Rach Beal says, Trontiloid. Linda Moulton Howell has a video called The Taxonomy of Alien Species, I think it is. You can look it up. It was through Ozark Mountain Publishing. You can go on YouTube, go on DuckDuckGo, do a video search, Linda Moulton Howell, Taxonomy Alien Species. She has like a 40-minute presentation where she goes through and talks about the different species. But what she talks about is basically what Danny says in his presentation. Let's take a quick look at that clip, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up here. Oh, wait a second. Before I do that, I'm going to go to Chris Bledsoe, and then we'll go to the other thing. Chris Bledsoe, this is his prediction that he got from his experience. If you're not familiar with Chris Bledsoe's story, you should absolutely go bone up on that. Chris Bledsoe is an experiencer who was out on a camping trip with two guys that worked for him and his son. They were out in rural North Carolina. They had an experience where he walked away from the campsite. He saw some flaming orbs. He described them as flaming balls of light that looked like the sun, but if the sun was the size of, I don't know, a Winnebago or I don't know, something along those lines, and it was about 120 feet away, and he just described seeing these things, being chased by them. He experiences missing time. He comes back to the campsite. His friends and his son are freaked out. They don't know where he's been. He's been gone for hours, but to him, he only experienced a few minutes. And then later, he has an experience where he's contacted by NHI, and a being known as the Lady presents herself to him and then delivers a prophecy. This is real. This is really crazy. This is weird. I know. But listen to this. This is the clip of him explaining it. That's true. Um, Here we go. Crap, was I on the wrong screen? I'm so sorry if I did. Let's do this one more time. Let's try this
When
one.
that star aligns on the horizon before daylight, in the gaze of the Sphinx, there would be a shift in the knowledge of humanity, a new knowledge, and that's what she told me. But there would be trouble along the way first, and they gave me the images of war.
Oh, no audio.
I even wrote that
Sorry,
I
guys.
saw Israel
Hang on, let me fix this.
bomb Iran.
All right, stand by. Let's see. Where is it?
And it's
Not that one.
And Syria. And we're looking at it right now. I put that in writing for years. I'm not talking today. I did it. I've said this for a long time. And it's coming. It's happening.
Okay. I think, sorry, guys. I think I fixed the audio. Tell me if this works. Here we go. Let's try this. Third time's the charm.
Let's hope it don't, but it's like you told me when that star aligns on the horizon before daylight, in the gaze of the Sphinx, there would be a shift in the knowledge of humanity, a new knowledge, and that's what she told me. But there would be trouble along the way first, and they gave me the images of war. I even wrote that I saw Israel bomb Iran and Syria, and we're looking at it right now. I put that in writing for years. I'm not talking today. I did it. I've said this for a long time. And it's coming. It's happening. Let's hope it don't, but it's looking that way.
Israeli military says it's conducting precise strikes against military targets in Iran. Earlier, Iran state television reported explosions in the capital Tehran and the nearby city of Karaj. Blasts have also been reported in the Syrian capital Damascus.
What do you think, guys? Chris Bledsoe. So it gets weirder. If you thought, so if you don't know, this is the lady. This is a painting that a friend of Chris Bledsoe's did based on his description of the vision that he saw. The lady is a blonde, Nordic looking woman in a glowing, flowing white robe, and she is accompanied by a bull or some hologram of a bull. This, when he describes this encounter, it sounds to me like he's seeing a hologram. They're showing him some kind of a holographic projection. He thinks it's so real, though, that when the bull approaches him, it runs at him and it tackles him to the ground. He passes over him and he falls down on the ground. And then he encounters the lady and he speaks to her, and she delivers this weird prophecy about the alignment of the stars on a particular date. And when Israel bombs Iran and Syria, what's going to happen and how that starts this chain of events that leads to some kind of new knowledge happening. So that is a weird piece of the puzzle. And he put that prediction down years ago. That's not new. That is, and that full interview is on the Danny Jones podcast. So go to YouTube and look at Danny Jones podcast. A great podcast, by the way. Check out Danny Jones. Check out his channel. Look up the Chris Bledsoe. And Richard Dolan did a deep dive, 3-parter with Chris Bledsoe years ago. This is about 2-3 years ago. It's really good. It's 3 parts. It's on Richard Dolan's YouTube channel. You can go there, find it, and you can listen to the entire story. He explains all of it. He walks you right through it, and he explains what's going on and what he experienced. And yeah, it's just really chilling, that whole conversation. Oh, Brett Higgins found the link to the taxonomy of aliens, Linda Moulton Howell. It's a good one. That's a good one. Shadow Patriot Terry. Yup, Israel bombed both just a couple of days ago. This all leads to the bad times after the elections. Adam Wright says, aside from the Israel-Iran conflict, what other aspects of the message are currently coming to pass? Well, I think you have some weirdness in, Russia, Ukraine. Obviously, that situation got out of hand quick, didn't it? And it stayed out of hand. And now the Ukrainians are going into Russia. That backfired. They've got control of Kursk, as I understand, still. And Putin's just, in a bad situation. That's going to cascade in all kinds of unpredictable ways. Rach Beal says, I do think, though, NHI uses your own belief system to translate to individuals in a way that they don't freak out. That seems to make sense. And that's in alignment with some of the other things I've heard from different contactees and abductees in the past, that sometimes the NHI will sort of scan your mind and look for archetypes or things that you you'll accept, and then projects an image of that and then delivers the message via that route so that you buy it more. Some people say that they've seen Jesus. Some people say that they've seen the Virgin Mary. But usually it's some form of religious iconography, which kind of, makes you wonder, is this like in Dune, where the Bene Gesserit sort of planted these religions on all these worlds, and they're just, when the moment is right, they can exploit them. Maybe that's what's going on here. I'm reading a great book right now called, what's the name of this book? Gods of Eden. That's what it is. Gods of Eden. It was sent to me by Fight Trader, and I am enthralled. It's all about the ancient societies here on Earth being sort of coerced into conflict with one another to keep humanity divided and disunited, and how it's overseen by some non-human intelligence posing as gods. And they basically come here and interfere with our global society to make sure that we never really get on the same page. We're always in some form of conflict with one another. And they do this through a variety of different methods. I'm only about a third of the way through it, but so far it's a great read. Adam Wright says Bledsoe's experience and contact is being processed through his deeply religious Christian paradigm, so it's difficult to suss out what is potential NHI communication and his personal interpretation. That's fair. KT says Bledsoe may be the bridge between science and spirituality or religion for everyone to assimilate. Rays says Bledsoe definitely believes what he is saying. To me, he seems like a very wholesome and kind human. Great points. Look, here's the thing. We don't know how many different species we're dealing with. According to Danny Sheehan, it's 5. According to others, it's more. Depending on who you talk to, that number fluctuates. But let's assume that it's more than 1, but there's at least 1. That 1, at minimum, any of the ones that we're going to be dealing with are going to have technology that looks like magic to us. And it's pretty likely that for thousands of years, if they've been coming here recently, they've been coming here for a long time. And planting a lot of religious bullshit in our heads. I mean, this is what Stargate is all about. Stargate, the series and the movie, it's a little corny by today's standards. The show, it's a lot corny by today's standards, but it's got a lot of heart. But that whole show is about how advanced non-human intelligence just trots around the galaxy, going from planet to planet, setting up fake religions where they pretend to be gods and they dupe everybody on that planet into believing they're gods. And that's just their whole game. And of course, a plucky band of humans gets hip to this and then is basically going through the Stargate. And the whole show is them showing up and saying, like, your gods are full of shit. Here, take these guns. It's funny, but it's not funny. There's, in a sense, like, we have to call into question, like, what religious information have we been told in the past that was actually planted here by non-human intelligence to manipulate us? I think we should be super skeptical of any contact. We should have a lot of questions. We need a lot of answers. It's going to be a really weird thing if it happens. And I don't think anybody really is going to know exactly how to respond. But particularly, it's going to be interesting watching organized religions try to figure out how to respond. And I think it's even more interesting that the Catholic Church has been making such great strides to get ahead of this conversation for years and years. This is something that they've been, the Vatican Observatory has made statements on this. They've come out and said that, if God created life on Earth, then it's likely God created life elsewhere as well. And they would all be children under God, just like us. You can look these statements up. They're on record. So I don't know. People are going to look to religion for guidance. They're going to look to government for guidance. The problem is that most people don't trust the government anymore, and even fewer people trust religion. So where do you go for adequate guidance? So to Danny's point, how do you prepare the population? Like, where do you even start? I guess, and I kind of hope that this channel, as small as we may be, we are growing. I hope that this conversation is a sort of a neutral, safe space for people to come feel like they've got an opportunity to voice their thoughts and kind of kick around some ideas. That's what Night Shift's really all about. Kicking the tires on this thing and saying, okay, I'll bite. Let's say that they are going to make contact. Then what? What do we do? How does that go down? How do you react? How do you personally react? Like you sitting at home with your situation and your life and your job and whatever it is that you're doing, or maybe you're a parent, or maybe you're a student, or maybe you're an artist, or maybe you're, you work with your hands, or, but you're a human being, and we're here, we're experiencing this, we're watching it, and it's fascinating. And if it does play out the way that it seems like it might, how does that change things for you? I think hearing each other, I think talking to each other like we're doing today, and listening to you guys and getting your feedback and your thoughts and sort of voicing this in a sort of an open forum is a first step. I don't go to church. I don't have like, I'm not like looking to an organized religion for guidance. You know, if anything, I'm going to look internally for my guidance, and I'm going to try to connect with people that I feel a kinship with and try to seek guidance from them. And you want to have that network. You know, you want to have those people around you. You want to have a cool head. You want to be as educated as you can be. You want to be thoughtful about this. But no one really knows. It's an exciting time to be alive. Toxic Fart says, Clint, love your points of view. Keep it up. Thank you, Toxic Fart. I don't think you're that toxic. I think they were wrong about you. Michael Wells. Oh, thank you for the super thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. Rice is Sardonicus. Nice Dune take. That's how I'm feeling. Johnny J says, it's funny when people say that. I'm always like, why do demons need underwater bases in the Pacific and drones to swarm Langley Air Force Base? LOL. There's a great, people give it a hard time, but Star Trek, The Final Frontier, it's the one Bill Shatner directed. There's Star Trek The Motion Picture, which is better than most people give it credit for. It's just a little long, so you have to really like settle in, get a comfortable chair. Worth watching though. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, probably the best Star Trek movie ever. Star Trek III, Search for Spock, very good. Probably the second best Star Trek, if not the first. It's in the top 3. Star Trek IV, Voyage Home. A probe from a distant part of space comes to Earth, and it's looking for intelligent life. But that intelligent life is not humans. It's looking for humpback whales. When it finds out that there are no humpback whales in the 24th century, it proceeds to completely destroy the planet. And Captain Kirk and the crew have to go back in time using a stolen Klingon ship to San Francisco, 1985, and find a humpback whale, kidnap it, bring it back to the present, which is in the future in this scenario, drop it off, and hope, as Dr. McCoy says, hope to hell they tell this probe what to go do with itself. And then there's Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, where Spock's brother Sybok comes back. I'm going somewhere with this. Hijacks the newly refitted Enterprise after it got jacked up. They take over the Enterprise and they approach a planet at the center of the known galaxy, beyond the Great Barrier, where supposedly God lives. And there's a great scene at the end of this where Captain Kirk, this God appears, and he's like explaining why he's going to take their ship and spread his word across the cosmos. And Captain Kirk correctly asks, what does God need with a starship? And it's awesome. It's just awesome. That's the kind of energy we're going to need. Look, I'm going to tell you something. These aliens, these NHI, they may be super advanced, but you know what they don't have? They don't have Jimi Hendrix. They don't have Prince. They don't have AC/DC. They don't have, what else don't they have? They don't have Snoop. You know, they don't have heart. They don't have pizza. We've got a lot of cool stuff down here. It's okay. It's okay to be human. Don't let them make you feel inferior just because they have 1,000 years more technology than we do. We can hang. We can hang. We just need, we haven't had the opportunity yet. Let's get some better spacecraft and let's go out there and see what we can do before we destroy the human species. The Real Bat Boy, thank you, Real Bat Boy, for the super chat. Boomerang Style says, 6 is the best. I will die on this hill. KT says, what if they show up and show us an entirely different way of being on the planet that is beyond what we can comprehend in a good way? That would be great. That would be great. Stephen Daedalus says, I have a skeptic brother, thinks I am wasting my time with this topic. He always says to me, from now on, talk to me about UFO ET only if it means I won't have to go to work anymore. That's fair. Got the Pixies, Reese Holbrook. We got the Pixies. We've got Depeche Mode. We've got we've got it all. By the way, this is a great opportunity for me to to remind you, and then we'll finish up. Hang on, I gotta find this web page. Here we go. This is fun. This is a fun side project I'm working on. If you go to the Night Shift, teamnightshift.com, and you go up to research, if you click on Night Shift Radio, it takes you to my playlist. This is the Night Shift Radio, music from the hit series. And it's full of awesome tracks. And these are just the tracks that I would play if I actually had the rights to play them and I could actually get away with it. I would totally use all this music. We've got Pink Floyd, Mother's Finest, Stevie Wonder, Whitesnake, the Doobie Brothers, Jefferson Starship, Rainbow, Black Sabbath, UFO, of course, New Order, B-52s, Röyksopp, Boards of Canada, Bauhaus, Sade, Daft Punk, Phil Collins, of course. We've got Oingo Boingo, Joe Walsh, Iggy Pop's in here. I mean, come on, guys. I even have Spinal Tap. I've got Van Halen. I've got Genesis. I've got Peter Gabriel. I've got Phil Collins. Who else? Neil Young, Jimi Hendrix, Joe Walsh, Commodores, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. It just goes on and on. Got some Kiss here, Chromeo, Wham, you name it. It's in here. Night Shift Radio, music from the hit series. If you get the opportunity and you're looking for something to break up the tedium of your day, go check it out. KBI LLY, super sounds of the 70s. All right, let's wrap up today's show. I've got a few more things for you, and then we got to bounce out of here. So, besides, I think my computer's going to melt. I have too many tabs open. Here we go. I've got way too many tabs open. I've exceeded the safety limit for this Mac. Okay, so let's wrap up on this point. This is a tweet on X from Paradigm Research Group, Steve Bassett. Steve Bassett is a disclosure advocate, activist, and he runs the Paradigm Research Group. He is a lobbyist in Washington, D.C., who works towards disclosure by pushing this issue in Congress with lawmakers. And he said, this is on the 27th, this is yesterday, 2:10 p.m., Steve Bassett, there is an expanding rumor confirmation of an off-Earth civilization is pending. There is an expanding rumor that confirmation of an off-Earth civilization is pending. Many news articles are turning up. If true, key words, if true, this would fit the predictions and likely have been known for some time. Timing is perfect, as such an announcement now would soften disclosure. And then, of course, the first comment under this is, don't count these chickens just yet. The news articles all cite the same source, Simon Holland. His source, the director of Breakthrough Listen, Dr. Andrew Simeon, has said his story is nonsense and not true. Simon is fibbing to get more subs. I don't know if I believe that. That sounds a little, I've had the opportunity to hang and participate with Simon in some live streams, and he's legit. He's a good guy. He's not out there bullshitting people for subs. He doesn't need to. But I do think it's important that we take a pause and don't just dive in head first on this. Here's the Paradigm Research Group. Their website's great. About PRG. Paradigm Research Group was established in July of 1996 by Stephen Bassett, a political activist and consultant, to advocate in all ways possible for an end to a government-imposed truth embargo of the facts surrounding an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. Disclosure. PRG's first action was to register as a lobbyist with the House and Senate and provide pro bono representation for a number of research organizations, thus the name Paradigm Research Group. PRG was not set up as a nonprofit in order to maximize its range of political advocacy options and diminish its vulnerability. And then it goes on to get into more detail about that. But they have a section on their website for issues, and they do talk about some really important stuff. Formal contact, nuclear weapons tampering, post-disclosure world, pre-disclosure contact, the Rockefeller Initiative. And these are just sort of white papers or basic, talking points on some of these ideas, just to sort of whet your appetite for the type of conversations that we should be having. So we'll come back to this on Wednesday, and we're going to do a deeper dive into the minutes, hours, days, and weeks after disclosure or after contact. Remember, we're talking about different things. These are not the same thing. Disclosure. Put some music on. Disclosure. Government coming forward, disclosing some of the information that it has on this issue. Maybe that's we have bodies. Maybe that's that it's all real. Maybe it's we have craft, but it's probably not all of the information. It's going to be a government official confirmation of the things that we have been noodling around the edges for years now. That would be disclosure. It's argued, and I've heard it argued convincingly, that disclosure has kind of already happened. And if you think about it in terms of where we're at today, there's a lot more information available than there was just a few short years ago. And it's safe to assume that some of that information, at least, is sanctioned. Like Lou's entire book had to go through the Dobster process. So if that's approved, like what's in that book is legit. It was approved. So that's sanctioned. Some of it's probably misinformation, not Lou's stuff, I don't know, but I'm saying in total, in sum, all the information that's out there, some of it is probably fake, some of it's probably accurate, some of it's probably a mixture, but that would be disclosure, some form of official confirmation that we can take to the bank and say, okay, now we can move forward. Then there's contact. Contact would be something entirely different. Contact would be a signal coming to us, a message. It would be a mass contact event, ships appearing in the sky, making contact. Not necessarily the same as disclosure. Same end result. We all know that it's real, but a totally different scenario going down. And these could play out in a number of different ways. So on Wednesday, we'll do a deep dive into the days, weeks, and or minutes, hours, days, and weeks after disclosure or contact. What's that going to be like? How is that going to change the world? We'll be doing messages from you guys, questions from the audience, hopefully call-ins. That's the idea. So more on that. And then on Friday, we're going to be talking to Luigi Vinditelli from Project Gravatar and Chris Ramsey about his new project, Area 52, where he's going to be doing deep dives into some of the biggest mysteries in the UFO UAP space and conversations about disclosure. That's going to be a lot of fun, and you guys are going to be a part of that conversation as well. So if you have questions about Project Gravatar or what that experience is like, Chris had the opportunity to do the VR or participate in the VR experience, so he's going to be talking about that, and hopefully we'll be looking at some exclusive footage. I have it on good authority that we'll get some. One last look at the chat, and then I've got to wrap it for today. By the way, I'll use this opportunity to remind you, if you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It only takes a second, and it really does help this channel grow. We're trying to do something different over here. I'm trying to make a place for our community to hang out, get to know each other, compare notes, make some new friends, try to figure out what we're going to do if all this goes down. And if it goes down in the way that it looks like it might, figure out what life after that's going to look like. It's an exciting time to be alive. Crazy things are happening all over the world every day now. There's so much news. It's actually kind of tough to stay on top of it. So it's exciting to be here with you guys. It's to be here with all of you. Oh, and by the way, if you go to teamnightshift.com, you can click on the Discord link right there on the website, and it'll take you to our Discord server where you can participate in the expanded discussion, the expanded conversation, where we kind of break it out into different topics, and you can get involved in that. Come say hi to our mod team. You can say hi to Chris and Brett and Xander and myself. We pop in there. Pavel's around. Patrick drops in from Vetted from time to time. And we're hoping to get both of those guys back on the show soon. All right, gang. That's it for me. I've got to wrap it there. Thank you so much for watching. It's been great to have this conversation. Keep going and watch it grow. Thank you guys for becoming members, for participating, for being a part of this whole thing, supporting the channel. It means everything to me. This is a lot of work, but it's very exciting to do, and I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I didn't ever think the channel would grow to almost 17,000 subscribers, but we did it in just over a year. Let's keep going. Let's break through 17,000. Let's go to 20,000 and then on to 100K. I know we can do it. Help me out. You can do it by sharing these videos, by subscribing, by spreading the word, and pick up a shirt, pick up a mug. They are super cool. I'm serious. It goes with everything. Layer up. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap it there. I'll see you on the next one. We'll be back Wednesday with my co-host, Xander, the wind beneath my wings, and we'll be doing deep dives on disclosure, contact. Be there. I'll see you on the next one. Until then, keep looking up.